when my own daughter-in-law forged my signature to steal the house my husband built. I didn't scream. I documented. The judge's gavel later hit harder than any betrayal I'd known. But that day, I just whispered, "You've underestimated the quiet ones. This story's only getting started." The cicadas hummed like they were trying to fill the silence Charles left behind. A week had passed since we buried him under the oak trees at Laurel Grove, and the house still smelled of cologne and casseroles. Folks from church had brought so much food I could have fed half the choir. I sat at the kitchen table, sorting through sympathy cards and Medicare forms, pretending not to notice how empty the other chair looked. The fan above made that soft clicking sound, steady as my own heartbeat trying to find its rhythm again. I'm fine. I kept telling folks, that's what we Southern women do, say we're fine when the air's too heavy to breathe. I was writing thank you notes when I heard the front door open. Russell called, "Hey, Ma, we brought lunch." Behind him, Valora's heels tapped across the tile. She was holding a manila folder, waving it like a prize. "Just some tax forms," she said, flashing that realtor smile of hers. "We don't want you to get penalized. Miss Evelyn." The miss always sounded sweet but sharp, like sugar hiding a lemon. Russell kissed my cheek, smelling like new car leather, his eyes darting away too fast. "Mom, it's just housekeeping," he said. "Let's keep Uncle Sam out of your pockets." I reached for my reading glasses and opened the folder. No letterhead, just blank signature tabs and language I didn't like. Authorization. Transfer of encumbrances. My stomach tightened. "Who's the CPA?" I asked. Valora laughed lightly. "It's all digital now. Mom, the portal handles it." She looked at her watch. "We're late for a showing." I wanted to read every line, but grief had made my head swim. I took a quick photo of the first page on my phone, my hand shaking just enough to blur the flash. Then I signed, using my old church pen. The click of the cap sounded final. Valora slipped the papers away too quickly. The air in the kitchen changed, heavier, colder. "Sweet tea?" she offered. "Already pouring." I nodded, though my throat was dry. She called me Miss Evelyn again while straightening the vase Charles had loved. "We'll handle the adulting so you can rest," she said. My jaw tightened. "Bless your heart," I replied, smiling the way Southern women do when they mean the opposite. I asked where the originals would be stored, and she started talking about portals and advisors. I pressed, "I'll have Ivy look over it." Her lips froze. Then she grinned too wide. Of course. Later that night, I found my sweaters in a plastic bin by the stairs. "Since the guest room's set for the baby talk tonight," Valora said, "we fixed you up cozy downstairs." The word cozy should never end in a garage. I followed her down, bleach smell, cot, a lamp with no bulb, and my church hat box sitting on a paint-splattered shelf. "It's just temporary, Ma," Russell said. "Don't make this a thing." My voice stayed calm. "Where's the carbon monoxide detector?" Silence. I cracked the side door for air. Valora closed it again. "Let's not run up the AC bill." I looked around at my life packed in cardboard, a folded wedding photo, my name written in Sharpie on the lid. Upstairs, laughter and clinking dishes. Down here, nothing but the hum of the freezer. I whispered, "In this house, every brick knew my name." I pulled out a small notebook, started my paper trail, date, time, what they said, what they didn't. I texted Deacon Lyle. "You up?" He sent a thumbs up and, "Need me to swing by in the morning?" I smiled. My mama used to say, "Pray short, but pray strong." So I did. "Lord, give me eyes and a spine." When I climbed back upstairs, Valora and Russell were whispering by the kitchen island. I asked for copies of the papers. "Tomorrow," she said. "Tonight," I answered. "I'll scan them myself." Russell sighed. "Mom, you always think the worst." I smiled. "I think in ledgers. Baby, numbers don't have feelings." Valora tilted her head. "Your memory's been foggy lately." I looked right at her. "I remember every digit on our mortgage. Want me to recite it?" She blinked first. The scent of her candle, home, made my stomach turn. Back downstairs. I arranged my few things, plugged in the heater right. I placed Charles's old level tool on the crate beside me. "I'll keep things even," I murmured. The garage light flickered once, like a warning. I heard a knock upstairs. Russell's voice. "We weren't expecting you tonight." Then another voice, smooth, unfamiliar. "Just checking square footage before we go live." My breath caught. I stood halfway up the stairs and said, "Go live where?" The foyer light snapped on. The house was still when I woke. No voices, no clatter from the street, just the hum of the fridge and a train somewhere out past Nicholson cutting through the dark. I made a pot of coffee, black and slow, and set my yellow legal pad on the table next to my old calculator. The paper felt rough beneath my fingers. I pulled the printer close and began feeding it sheets, each one a month of my life paid for and quietly drained. The first pages rolled out, ink still damp, filled with charges that didn't belong to me. Damon's favorite cigar lounge, $428. Rideshare at 112 a.m., a consulting subscription for a business I never heard of. I grabbed a red pen, then green, then yellow. Color-coded clarity. Green meant known. Power bill, insurance, water. Red meant theft. Yellow meant maybe grocery runs or family cell plan. My kitchen looked like a war map. Line by line. Lie by lie, I whispered. Mama used to say, "Charge it to the game." But this wasn't a game anymore. I was the one keeping score. As the sky began to pale, I highlighted recurring drafts, utilities, HOA, auto insurance, cell plan, all still tied to my accounts. Damon had been feeding off my generosity like ivy on brick, slow and quiet until it strangled. I made a note about the hidden phone at last night's dinner, underlined it twice. Video evidence, my late husband once said, "Don't fund disrespect." I could almost hear him clearing his throat in the quiet. When the sun broke over the blinds, I dialed the direct number for Judith Ellery at the Main Street branch. "Miss Renault," she said, warm and sharp at once. "I saw some flags on your profile overnight." We verified my details, the safe word, the CD ladder, the last 4 digits. "We're locking this down today," I said. She explained the elder exploitation protocol, how she could mark my file so no one sweet-talked their way past her. "Come in at 10, she said. "We'll clean this up." Before breakfast, I began my digital cleanup. Utility portals, credit cards, insurance, all open on the laptop like dominoes. I deleted Damon's name from each, revoked access, removed recurring gifts I'd set up when they'd fallen behind. "Yes, ma'am. Effective immediately." I repeated, polite but final. I wasn't angry, I was surgical. Every confirmation email felt like air filling my lungs again. I opened the key box and found the spare credit card Damon used for emergencies. I snapped it clean in two, photographed the pieces, and dropped them into the shred bag. Then, on my legal pad, I wrote 3 sentences I'd later recite if challenged. "I'm not angry. I'm finished. I will not discuss funding disrespect." Those words steadied me better than coffee. At 9:30, I packed my tote, documents, folder, church bulletin, quiet power tools of a Southern woman. The bank smelled like toner and lemon polish. Judith met me with a handshake that said we'd handle this like grown women inside the glass cubicle. She opened my file and frowned. "You didn't add an iPhone 14 Pro, right?" "Not unless I did it in my sleep," I said. She called fraud ops, froze my cards, and printed a new debit one. A transfer attempt flashed, $1,200 to someone named R. Collins. Judith's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Caught it mid-flight," she said. I smiled grimly. "He's sloppy when he's nervous." Judith printed the affidavit, slid it to me for signature, and whispered, "He's been skimming when you think you're treating dinner." I didn't flinch. "Then he's eaten his last meal on me." On the drive home, clouds piled like gray linen over Baton Rouge. My phone buzzed. HOA email. Addendum. Property access review for Lot 17. My lot. The words. Efficiency. Optics. Shared utility. Reeked of Damon's corporate slang. I laughed under my breath. "You don't have to wrestle every hog that runs by," I said. but you keep the hose ready." I forwarded the email to myself, added it to the evidence folder, and circled tomorrow's meeting date. By noon, I texted Lyric. Bills paused. No more transfers. We'll talk once the money's safe. She replied within seconds. "Mom, Damon didn't mean to. He's just under pressure." I stared at the screen, the mother in me aching and the woman in me done. Boundaries first, feelings later. I typed back. Her bubble blinked, then stopped. Silence. I took a screenshot and filed it under Communication Boundaries. I made myself lunch, grits and eggs, and sat at the table staring at the evidence folder. Just paper and ink, but it felt like armor. Then 2 alerts pinged. Brokerage login attempt blocked and new smart lock added to your address. My blood chilled. I hadn't ordered any lock. The app listed a device name, DV Front Door, Damon's initials, lazy as his lies. Outside, a car idled, tires crunching gravel. My old doorbell camera buzzed, sending a blurry image to my phone. Broad shoulders, familiar jacket. I started an audio memo. Date, time, visitor. I slid the folder under the pantry shelf, where no one but me would find it. My hand rested on the deadbolt as I whispered, "Lord, post a guard at my door while I post one on my accounts." The bell rang again. Through the peephole, I saw Damon's sleeve, his finger pressing steady, as if this house still owed him entry. My phone lit up again. New device added. Money in my home, both under siege. I straightened, calm as ever, and thought, let him ring. Saturday morning came thick with Georgia heat, the kind that made the air feel syrupy before the sun even climbed high. I brewed my coffee strong and opened my legal pad. 3 lines. Stop listing, stop deed, keep home. That was the mission. No more porch debates, no tears, no raised voice. Paper would speak. I called Deacon Lyle to confirm the ring clips were safe. "Got 'em. Miss Evelyn. Time-stamped and clean," he said. I smiled into the receiver. "That's my insurance, baby." I laid out my owner packet, license, tax bill, utilities, all in my name. Everything neat, everything ready. I opened my laptop and began drafting a formal complaint to the brokerage. Subject line: unauthorized marketing of owner-occupied primary residence. I typed the facts like bullet wounds. No listing signed by me. Lockbox installed. Buyers appeared. Portal shows a forged attorney in fact. I attached screenshots from the Ring feed and Ivy's cease and desist letter. I CC'd the regional MLS compliance team with the listing URL, citing a seller verification failure. Each sentence landed clean and cold. I printed the auto acknowledgement from MLS and slipped it into my binder. When people try to erase you with lies, you answer with proof. By 10:30, my phone buzzed. Email from the Chatham County clerk, new record indexed. My stomach clenched, but my hand stayed steady. I logged into the portal and saw the image. My name, a quitclaim deed. Filed under Fulton County instead of Chatham. Wrong county, wrong intent. I captured every screen, wrote the recording number, book and page. "They rush the grief," I whispered. "But I'll outrun their rush." I texted Ivy. "Index now. Venue mismatch confirmed." Her reply came back. "Head to my office. We file within the hour." At Ivy's conference table, papers spread like chess pieces. She drafted an affidavit of forgery. I reviewed every line, circling phrases like improper execution and venue inconsistency. She ran the notary's number through the state registry. Atlanta address. Valid commission, missing witness address. "That's leverage," she said. I nodded. "Let's use it." She prepped a lis pendens to cloud the title, so no one could sell or borrow against it. "We'll also hit the Secretary of State with a notary complaint," she added. The paralegal stamped, scanned, and e-filed everything before lunch. Ivy slid the originals into a red folder. "Keep the safe," she said. "It's your armor. Back home." I called in witnesses, Deacon Lyle and Marlene from next door. Together we faced that lockbox like a jury. "Date, time, reason," I said into my phone as I filmed. I photographed it from every angle, read the serial number out loud, then snapped the code plate. I opened it with a steady hand, placed it in a tote beside today's newspaper, sealed it tight. I taped a printed notice on my door. "Owner does not consent to entry. Counsel, Ivy Maddox, SQ." Then I texted the brokerage manager. Lockbox retrieved and preserved as evidence. All access revoked. Deacon signed my one-page witness note before heading back across the lawn. At 2, I sent one message to each of them. All communication in writing to counsel. Do not come unannounced. Russell replied. Mom, this is getting dramatic. No, baby, I muttered. This is documented. Valora sent a thumbs up and an invite titled, Condo Tours Tuesday. I declined and forwarded it to Ivy. I turned off family photo sharing and put my phone on Do Not Disturb except for 2 people, my lawyer and my deacon. Late afternoon. The MLS replied, listing removed pending verification. The brokerage sent a follow-up apology, calling it a misunderstanding. I printed both, filed them under S5, MLS broker. I took one deep breath, then went right back to labeling folders. Deed copies, notary form, lockbox chain of custody. My hands didn't shake anymore. When people erase you with paper, I said softly, you restore yourself with better paper. At 5:41, a sheriff's cruiser idled outside my house. I stepped to the window. A deputy and a man in a title company lanyard approached the porch. The deputy spoke first. Ma'am, we're here on a civil standby for a lock change, authorized by attorney-in-fact Valora Price. I opened the door halfway, held up Ivy's red folder, and met his eyes. Then, Officer, I said evenly, we're all about to read together. The deputy's knock was soft, but authority hummed behind it. I opened the door and stepped onto the porch, sunlight spilling across his badge. The title company man beside him looked uneasy, a clipboard clutched to his chest. Afternoon, ma'am, the deputy began. We're here on a civil standby for a lock change, authorized by a Miss, Valora Price. I smiled, steady. Then let's read together. I set Ivy's red folder on the porch rail like a preacher laying down scripture. Affidavit of forgery, lis pendens, MLS takedown, all neatly time-stamped. The deputy adjusted his hat and radioed dispatch. No consent, I said clearly. Owner present, contested title on record. The title rep stammered something about a work order from the brokerage. Give me the number, I told him, snapping a photo of his badge. When someone brings muscle to your door, I said, you bring paper to their eyes. The deputy read the filings again, nodding slowly. I can't enforce a lock change under dispute, he said. You're within your rights. I asked for the incident number and his card, writing both into my binder while they watched. The title rep called his supervisor. I heard him mutter, we'll regroup. I recorded that too. Exact time. Exact words. I returned the sealed lockbox tote to the hall closet, locked it, and spoke aloud for my own record. Chain of custody remains unbroken. I texted Ivy a summary and photos. Her reply buzzed almost instantly. Good. Next. Utilities. I stepped out to the mailbox, thinking she was exaggerating, until I saw the envelope. A shut-off notice for my electric. 48 hours until disconnection. Below it, a postal slip. Mail forwarding request pending. Initiated by authorized household member. I sat down at my kitchen table and dialed the utility company. Accounts in my name, I said. Freeze it, add a password. The rep confirmed the order and tagged my account for Fraud Watch. I logged into the postal portal, revoked the mail forward, filed an ID theft report, printed every confirmation. They couldn't take my door, I whispered. So they tried to turn off my lights. By late afternoon, Marlene texted me a screenshot from the neighborhood app, Valora's name right there under a smiling profile picture, protecting Dad's investment from elder confusion. My stomach dropped, then hardened. Minutes later, an HOA email arrived about open house traffic and signage violations. I replied with Ivy's counsel letter and attached the ring clips of strangers at my door. I drafted a public note. Calm, factual, short. No open house authorized. Title dispute filed. Please respect privacy. Deacon Lyle promised to speak at the next HOA meeting. I thanked him. Never chase every rumor, I told him. Just plant facts where they can root. That evening, Ivy sent another email. Attachments of the notary's registry details. Atlanta address. Missing witness info. Wrong venue. We filled out a formal complaint for the Secretary of State and prepared a narrow TRO. No third-party entries. No utilities tampered with. No marketing. My instructions for court were simple. Bring ID, tax bill, and proof of residence. I wrote my timeline by hand. Every call, every visit, each forgery documented like scripture. Night came slow. I sat in the den, framed Charles's photo on the mantel, and whispered, "I'm keeping the promise we made to this house." The church choir's rehearsal floated faintly through the window, reminding me that peace still existed somewhere beyond this storm. I set out my clothes for court. Navy skirt, white blouse, flats by the door. I texted Russell, "Court tomorrow. Come if you plan to tell the truth." No threats, no begging, just an open door he'd have to choose before bed. I wrote one more list. What they can't take, my name, my voice, my records, my neighbors, my God. Around midnight, the motion light blinked on. I froze, heart calm but alert. A car idled at the curb, engine low. No knock, no voice. Just an envelope slid under my door. I picked it up with tongs, opened it, and stared. A photocopy of the forged deed. My name, my signature, pasted like a ghost of itself. A sticky note read, "Sign the transfer cleanly and we'll stop." I took photos, sealed it in an evidence sleeve, left Ivy a precise voicemail. Then I slid the chain across the door, turned the deadbolt, and laid the envelope beside the red folder waiting for court. The morning came soft and pink, sunlight bleeding through the kitchen blinds. I brewed my coffee, steadying my hands on the mug while the house hummed its quiet. Before anything else, I opened the red binder and slipped on cotton gloves from my church craft bin. The anonymous envelope from midnight sat sealed in a plastic sleeve. I photographed every angle, logged the timestamp, and wrote, "Condition, intact, coercive note enclosed." I called Ivy. "No knocks, no voice," I said. "Just paper shoved under the door." Her voice was low but sharp. "Bring it to court, untouched. Keep your prints clean." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I printed the voicemail transcript I'd left her last night and stapled it to a tab labeled S11, Coercion. The kettle clicked off behind me. "They came quiet," I murmured. "So I'll answer loud, with documentation." By mid-morning, Ivy forwarded new files. Audit trail attached. The subject line read. I opened it and stared at the numbers and maps. Digital footprints like tracks in wet clay. The so-called seller authorization had been opened from an IP address in Midtown Atlanta, nowhere near the notary's declared county. The DocuSign trail showed login attempts overlapping the same time as the open house visitors caught on my Ring camera. They left digital footprints in their church shoes, I whispered, drawing red lines between timestamps. Ivy was already one step ahead. Drafting a subpoena list, ISP logs, brokerage Wi-Fi records, and any session video from the signing. I sent her a quick reply. "The data tells the truth. We'll let it sing in court. Before lunch." Deacon Lyle knocked, a folder tucked under his arm. "Got you some backup," he said. Inside were copies of the church's offering ledger and a letter confirming my decades-long membership. "Pastor says it proves residency and standing." He hesitated, then added, "I overheard Valora at choir warm-ups bragging, 'We've got the listing in motion. Thought you'd want the date.'" I wrote it down immediately. "You just turned gossip into evidence." I told him. We signed his witness statement, and I asked if he'd testify. "I'll stand right there with you," he said. I filmed a quick note for my viewers. "Reputation is a kind of mortgage you pay for decades." Then I texted Marlene, asking her to keep forwarding screenshots from the neighborhood app. Around 1, young Jazz from next door showed up with a flash drive and a nervous grin. "Miss Evelyn, I think I got something." On his USB were high-res clips of strangers setting up a folding sign in my yard, plus the car plate of a woman tagged as event planner. He also pulled up TikTok and Instagram stories from the same afternoon, geotagged to my street. "You see that?" he asked. "Your house was in someone's B-roll." Together, we captured the handles and timestamps. I logged his consent form and sent everything to Ivy. "Perfect when it's..." She texted back. "Helps timeline the trespass." I handed Jazz banana bread wrapped in foil. "Truth deserves dessert," I said, smiling. But peace didn't last. By 2, an email landed from broker Amir Kassab's attorney, pages of legal language accusing me of defamation for warning neighbors. I didn't blink. I forwarded it to Ivy. Within minutes, she fired back a reply attaching our filings, audit trail, and the list pendants. They should be careful what they threaten, she said. I drafted a calm note for the neighborhood. No comment beyond what's filed in court. See public record. The HOA chair, Miss Whitcomb, wrote that all complaints would pause pending the hearing. I thanked her and rehearsed one line in case reporters called, "Title dispute pending. We trust the court." By late afternoon, Ivy finalized the temporary restraining order packet. No entry, no utilities cut, no mail tampering, tight, sharp, undeniable. I checked every exhibit, timeline, ring stills, audit logs, church letters, that coercive note sealed in plastic. The court clerk confirmed Judge Carraway would hear it that evening. I ironed my navy skirt, placed tissues and bus fare in my purse. Old habits from another life. God, I whispered, let the truth be legible. At the courthouse, the hallway smelled faintly of floor polish and tension. Russell sat on a bench, eyes bloodshot. "Mom," he said softly, "I can't protect Valora and tell the truth at the same time." He handed me a folded paper, hands shaking. I didn't take it. "If it's evidence," I told him, "give it to the process." He looked at me like a child again, lost between guilt and relief. I turned away before my heart could soften too much. I love my son, but I won't be his accomplice. The bailiff's voice cut through the corridor. "All rise." Ivy squeezed my shoulder once as we stood. Judge Carraway entered, robe crisp, eyes unreadable. "Maddox versus Maddox et al." The clerk announced. I straightened my back, opened the red binder, and said evenly, "Good evening, Your Honor. I'm ready with the record." The courtroom smelled faintly of old paper and lemon polish. I stood behind Ivy Maddox as the clerk called our case. "Maddox versus Maddox et al." Judge Carraway glanced at the docket, his tone clipped. "Short, precise. Documented," he said. I gave my full name, age, and address. Voice steady despite the tremor in my knees. Ivy introduced herself for the record across the aisle. A young man in a gray suit announced he represented Valora and broker Amir Kassab. I opened my red binder, each tab marked like a battle plan. Ivy laid it before the judge. "Your Honor, we seek a narrow temporary restraining order. No entry, no marketing, no utility interference, no forwarding of mail." Judge Carraway nodded. "Show me the paper." I took a breath. "Here's what happened, Your Honor. Plain and simple, Ivy began with the audit trail. She projected the DocuSign metadata on the courtroom screen, IP addresses, timestamps, device IDs, each one tracing back to a midtown brokerage network. "This," she said, tapping the screen, "is the digital equivalent of fingerprints." I pointed to the overlap between the ring camera footage and the signing times. "The internet keeps its own diary," I told the judge. "And it doesn't lie." The opposing counsel tried to object. Relevance. But Judge Carraway waved him down. Ivy highlighted the notary's venue mismatch. Fulton County versus Chatham filings. Potential fraud through remote execution, she said. The judge frowned. "Is there any legitimate reason for this?" Counsel hesitated. "We can't confirm." I leaned forward slightly. "If a key fits 3 doors in 3 cities, it's not a key. It's a copycat." The judge smiled, faint but approving. Next came the envelope. The bailiff, gloved, carried the plastic sleeve to the clerk's desk. "Exhibit 12, Ivy said. Delivered anonymously. Midnight, under my client's door." I explained how I'd handled it. No contact, time-stamped photos, sealed immediately. Ivy read the line aloud. "Sign quietly or you'll be sorry." The courtroom chilled. She linked it to the following morning's open house post. The judge's brows knit. "Will preserve for handwriting analysis. Counsel. Secure all printers and devices." Opposing counsel muttered, "Neighborhood theatrics." Ivy didn't miss a beat. "Then explain the timestamps." Silence answered her. Deacon Lyle took the stand next. His calm voice filled the room like Sunday service. He confirmed my decades at the same address, the church ledger entries, and Valora's choir boast. We've got the listing in motion. Ivy kept it clean. Dates, facts, no gossip. The judge nodded appreciatively. I told him softly, "In our pews, Your Honor, your name is your collateral." Opposing counsel smirked. "Biased witness," Ivy countered. "Objective ledgers, Your Honor, verified by multiple signatories." The judge waved for the next witness. Jazz, the neighbor teen, approached with the USB drive. His sneakers squeaked on the marble. The bailiff confirmed the hash code. The judge leaned in as Ivy displayed a still frame, my cracked driveway line, the open house sign, strangers on my porch. "That your property, ma'am?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I said. "Oh, and that's my crabapple tree." No one spoke after that. Then came Russell. "My son." He looked hollowed out, pale under the fluorescent light. He took the oath, voice thin. "Who gave you the papers?" Ivy asked. He hesitated, then said, "Valora, and someone from Amir's office. They said it was just paperwork." Ivy pressed gently. "Did you read it?" He shook his head. "They said Mom would sign later." I stayed still, my hands folded tight in my lap. "I love my boy," I thought, "but I won't be his alibi." Judge Carraway cleared his throat. "TRO granted," he said firmly. "No marketing, no entries without counsel, no interference of utilities or mail. All devices preserved. Violations will trigger contempt proceedings." Opposing counsel tried to protest. The judge cut him short. "You don't get to burn the house while we argue about the deed." Ivy thanked the court. I whispered. "Yes, Your Honor," and sat down, heart steady for the first time in weeks. As the clerk packed up, she frowned. "Your Honor, there's a second folded sheet inside the exhibit envelope." The judge raised a brow. "Seal it for forensic review." I caught Valora's face blanch, white as the marble walls. Ivy leaned close and murmured, "If that's what I think it is, Chapter 7 writes itself." I closed my binder, calm but alert. Some confessions don't need ink. They leave fingerprints in the margins. The phone rang at 6:12 Yes, slicing through the quiet like a church bell. I was pouring my first cup of coffee when Ivy's voice came through, crisp and awake. "We authenticated the signature," she said. The words settled heavy in my chest. The sealed sheet wasn't just some addendum. It was a full direction letter, typed and pasted with my e-signature, traced from Valora's stylus pattern. The metadata timestamp hit 2:03 a.m., the night before their open house. I looked out the kitchen window at the cardinals on the feeder, the air still gray-blue. "They didn't just push papers," I whispered. "They rehearsed my signature like a karaoke track." Ivy explained the next step, an emergency motion to unseal, contempt, and DA referral. "Copy me on whatever a mother needs to read to stay brave," I told her. My coffee had gone cold, but my pulse didn't. By mid-morning, the forensic report arrived. Each page felt like a tightening noose. The lab confirmed the printer's microdot pattern matched a Midtown office registered to Amir Kassab's firm. Time codes lined up with the Wi-Fi logs Ivy had subpoenaed. I stared at the small blue dots magnified on the page, tiny constellations of guilt. Then came Russell's phone extract, done voluntarily with Ivy's guidance. It showed a photo of my mailbox key and a text from an unknown number. "Use the old POA. She won't fight." I didn't raise my voice when Ivy told me. "Discipline can wait." I said, "Truth can't." At my dining table, I printed new exhibit labels, yellow for fraud, pink for witness statements, red for family links. I smiled faintly. I pack receipts like I pack church programs, flat, dated, and in order. By late morning, we were at the Atlanta Police Department's fraud unit, Detective Artsas. Ogletree met us under buzzing lights, his tie crooked, but his eyes sharp. "We've got enough for forgery, attempted theft by deception, falsifying records, and trespass," he said, flipping through Ivy's packet. "That's felony territory." He confirmed the broker's business card matched the event planner's permit-less setup. "State board's already getting calls," he added. Ivy passed him a printout from the USPS investigator. Valora had filed a temporary redirect for my financial mail. "Where I'm from," I told him, "you don't steal a woman's name. That's worse than stealing her car." He nodded, signing the chain of custody form. At noon, Ivy's phone buzzed with 2 alerts. The State Real Estate Commission had issued a summary suspension for broker Kassab, pending a hearing. "Effective immediately," the line read. A municipal citation hit next. The event planner fined for illegal residential operations. I laughed once, quietly. That a little paperwork they said didn't matter? It's raining down like roof nails. Valora's lawyer filed a motion to narrow the TRO, but Judge Carraway denied it without even scheduling. I poured sweet tea into a glass and said, mostly to myself, "Accountability isn't spite, it's housekeeping." By early afternoon, Russell came by. He stood in the doorway, hat low, voice low. "Mom, I need to tell you everything." He confessed how Valora had waived a fake old POA, promising him a cut to protect the equity. "You're my son," I said evenly, "but you're not my shield. You don't sign for me again." His eyes filled. "I just didn't want to look like a failure." I softened. "Failure's a moment, not your name." He nodded, promising to give a full statement naming Amir's assistant. I didn't hug him. I handed him a typed list. My kind of love, tidy and clear. Late afternoon brought casseroles and consequence. Deacon Lyle and Reverend Booker came by with a ledger printout and a warm pan under foil. "The congregation pooled funds," Deacon said, "for your security upgrades." I shook my head. "Put it through the church account. If it ain't in the ledger, it didn't happen." Jazz stopped by too, installing a temporary camera at the back gate. "For peace of mind," he said. I smiled. "Dignity isn't quiet because it's scared. It's quiet because it's anchored." At 5. Ivy and I met Judge Carraway in chambers. He unsealed the document, reading every line, eyes narrowing. "This is a forged direction letter," he said flatly. "Probable fraud indicators confirmed. Show cause hearing set," he warned Valora's counsel. "Touch the property, its mail, or its story, and I'll hold you in contempt." Ivy submitted our draft sanctions order. The DA intake logged as we watched Detective Ogletree escort the evidence courier out. I signed one final form. I am the owner. I did not authorize. I thought of every signature I'd ever given. Marriage, mortgage, burial, and felt this one settle like armor. That evening, I replaced the light bulb in my garage. The one Valora's people had unscrewed. The motion sensor blinked alive, bright and steady. I sat on the porch, sipping lukewarm tea, the house humming with safety again. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. 7 seconds of shaky video played, my deed on a countertop. Blurred faces, a whisper, "Delete that, now!" I froze. Then Ivy's message popped up. "Do not engage. I'll trace the number." I locked the door twice, just like my mother used to. "A woman's locks," I murmured, "are not a suggestion. Tomorrow." Their whisper would walk into court wearing a badge. At 8:45 A. The DA's office buzzed like a beehive. Ivy handed over our file while the investigator scrolled through his screen. "The anonymous video came from the planner's assistant, Manoantha," he said. "Origin traces to Valora's group chat." On the screen, my deed sat on a countertop while a voice said, "Paste it clean. She signs like that." The match was perfect. I exhaled. "Where I'm from," I told them, "that's called caught in daylight." The DA nodded, outlining the next steps: forgery, theft by deception, and contempt before Judge Carraway. By 11, we stood again in the courtroom. Ivy introduced the exhibits: the printer's microdots, Wi-Fi logs, chat exports, and the mail redirect order. "This is geometry, not theory," she said. The judge leaned forward. "Fraud is established. Devices to be imaged." I rose. "I did not authorize any sale, and I will never be a guest in my own house." His gavel hit once, and the sound felt like closure. Then Ivy revealed the safeguard. The trust deed I'd filed months earlier. "Even if they'd fooled a clerk," she said, "the title would have snapped back like a seatbelt." The judge smiled faintly. "That's foresight," I whispered. "Preparation isn't paranoia, it's peace." The fallout moved fast. The planner's assistant confessed, naming Valora as ringleader. Broker Kassab's license was suspended, his firm under investigation. USPS confirmed mail fraud. The bank froze all equity activity tied to my address. Ivy sent me one line: "Accountability caches quiet." At dusk, Russell came alone. He handed me his apology letter and sworn statement. "I'm sorry, Mom." I looked at him. "Mercy, yes. Access, no." He nodded, eyes wet. That evening, I repainted the garage numbers, steady hand, no shaking. Deacon Lyle brought a brass mailbox plate engraved Holloway. I folded the forged direction letter into Ivy's file and said, "Trash belongs in the bin. Lies belong in the record." The porch light clicked on, soft and golden. When the doorbell rang, I found a courier holding a certified envelope marked "Proposed Settlement and Apology." I smiled and set it, unopened, on the counter. The porch light glowed steady as I finally sat down with the unopened envelope. Inside, something shifted. Paper brushing paper. A faint metallic clink. My name was handwritten on the flap in ink I knew too well. I hesitated. If that was her apology, why did it weigh like a key?